You know, Don Draper has smoked and drank and philandered his way into our hearts over the past couple of years. But, well, the image of Don Draper isn't just from Hollywood. He's from the 60s. Here in present-day Canada, the role of creative director is changing faster than it ever has before. Creative directors from big agencies are going to small boutiques, and creative directors from small boutiques are going to niche players. Some people are leaving the business entirely. Well, what's behind all this? There just seems to be a general feeling amongst creative directors that, well, it's not fun anymore. Well, I wanted to get to the bottom of it. So I sat down with 5 of the country's top creative directors for a little chat. So I guess I'll ask you, right, are people unhappy? John, are creative directors unhappy?
Yeah, I think, there's probably a measure of both happiness and unhappiness, but I think, it's probably the same age-old answer that we've given for the last 20 years is whenever you're taken away from what you really love to do, which is come up with ideas, that you're generally going to be a little unhappy. We're wired to be, process managers and timesheet cops and all that stuff. And now I suppose there's just way more of that sort of client infiltration of the daily process in our lives. We've assimilated in a lot of agencies that it takes us further away from what we do. Right. So I think there's always going to be creative directors who go, okay, well, I'll accept that much. How can I get that much of what I still love to do? Right. I think that's to me, that's probably the general feeling. Yeah, that I guess that has always been the case, hasn't it? Like, oh, great, now I'm no longer a creator, I'm a manager. Mm-hmm. And have we always been cranky, Glenn, as a bunch?
I've always been very cranky.
Thank you for bringing your smile today, sir.
Yes, of course. I think creative directors, it's part of the role that you do evolve out of what you love to do. Yeah. Are we unhappier? I think are people in the business unhappier than they have been before? I think when you were having a bunch of martinis and a big steak dinner and you had more money and you had more relationship and more time to do what you do, you probably enjoy it more. But I think the new people coming into the business are not unhappy. I think they're dying to get in. Yeah. And so the people who've experienced more enjoyment earlier in their careers become less satisfied as time goes along. Yeah. Yeah.
Virginia, as we move into that kind of that managing role, is it becoming more difficult? Now you're at Twist Image, and are you seeing a different breed of people walk through your doors, do you think, than the traditional big network agency? And are they easier or tougher to manage?
People are people. Advertising people are basically, it's not sugar and spice. It's, a little bit of ego and then a little bit more ego on top of that. So what you're doing is you're always managing really big egos. I don't think, a privately owned company or a big network attracts necessarily different type of ego. I think it's all the same person. So as we move into managing, I've been doing this for 15 years. So I know what I was like to be managed. So, and I've been at lots of different places, lots of different sizes. So I think everyone's pretty much the same person. We love to think of ourselves as unique and beautiful little snowflakes, but ultimately we're all the same.
Right, right. Yeah. So now, John talked about the client infiltration, that I guess more FaceTime. Is that what you meant by that?
No, I just think that clients demand, what I meant by that is I think clients demand their sort of day-to-day processes and structures are infiltrating our business because we have to, set up our individual brand management to feed their processes and spreadsheets. So we're like, everything's super processed now. Right. I guess is all I was saying.
Right. So David, I guess the agency can't bring to the table their proprietary strategic.
We've tried that, but it didn't work. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. One thing to bring into the mix is the advent of digital, because digital is changing everything, I would say, and then turning everything upside down. Jack Neary at TBWA said recently that digital has brought us a whole range of new colors to our palette. And I agree with Jack on that, but here's the thing. Everyone's fighting for the brush. Yep. It's like the researcher wants the brush, the client wants the brush, the agency president wants the brush. So the amount of time we spend with that brush with all those beautiful colors feels like it's been reduced substantially. And then you stand back at the end and look at the canvas, and no one's really happy with the results.
Yeah. And no one's taking ownership of it.
Yeah, that's a tough position to be in.
Right, right. Israel, as kind of digital has obviously become more and more important in traditional agencies. Do you think creative directors are wearing a lot of that? That a lot of people are looking to the creative director to figure it out?
Yeah, it's freaking scary. Because you know what? It changes every day. Like the landscape of business, the landscape of technology is changing how we work and how we interact with the world around us. And all of a sudden, everyone's looking to the creative director to always have the answers right away. And you know, I think there's that pressure. There's always that pressure to be the one to know the latest and greatest and how to apply that. How does that work with our brands? How do you use that to inspire your teams to create the next big thing that's going to win a titanium Cannes Lion? So there's a lot to kind of absorb. So you know, it's a lot of pressure in terms of trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
for sure.
How much do you guys think this is partially about ego, where creative directors used to be able to walk into a room and the client would say, the creative director is here, and what they say, we shall follow.
I think that ended with Don Draper.
yeah. But now... yeah. Because you've got that Mexican tan that you just brought to the table. But, you know, where you used to be able to walk into a room and be the true consultant. And now is it tough to say, I don't know?
I think it's been demystified, what we do. Yeah. I think they have the playbook.
Yeah.
The dark art of advertising. And digital, I think, is getting a bit of a buy in some ways now. They're saying it's very measurable, and there's a lot of ways to talk about sufficiencies, but they don't really know exactly what digital is all about. And so there's a little bit of leeway there. And so I find that a lot of the interactive companies are getting some leeway where traditional agencies are no longer, because everybody's an expert in kind of traditional media. We know how it works and we know how to do it, and we're going to tell you how to do it. And it's compounded by the fact that this is a very tense time. I think especially for clients, CMOs who last maybe 2 years, you know, that's how long they're going to last. And if it doesn't work, they get fired. And it's survival. So how much success do I want to have, and how much do I want to trust you and your ability to deliver? Because if you don't, I'm screwed. I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to give you that much power, because I know enough about what you do that I think maybe I'll tell you what to do. But I guess maybe I really don't know what you do. Maybe I'll give you a little leeway.
Yeah.
But I think the CMO thing is a huge piece, because it is the most tenuous job in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And so clients are, you know, even more so than ever before, moving to the middle, because if it can just make numbers, then CMO keeps his job. And it's very rare that we find a CMO that's a maverick, willing to, you know...
to take a chance. Yeah. I was listening to a story of Aflac with the duck and stuff like that. So who would choose a duck? And I guess they pitched that to a couple of different agencies, and they said, come up with ideas. And one of the agencies came up, well, we'll have Seinfeld talk about insurance, and that's how we'll push the product. And somebody else came up with the duck. Well, they went and tested the ideas, and ultimately Seinfeld only did 60% approval or whatever. The duck got 90% approval. But the CEO still, the CMO still said, I don't think we can go with the duck. I can't go with the duck. You know, and he went and talked to other CEOs, and he said, what should I do? What should I do? And the other CEOs said, well, listen, you'll never get fired for getting 60%.
That's just it, right?
So why would you go with this? Now, he was written in, he had a 2-year deal where they couldn't fire him.
Right.
So he decided to go with the duck anyway. It's had massive success. But if you go with the safe choice, you're certain of keeping your job.
Yep. That's precisely the CMO thing. That's the big question mark right now.
Yeah, and we'll come back to that, because I think the kind of the left brain, you know, reliance on test scores and research to justify decisions